So for the longest time, I would hold myself back in social situations. I would want to connect with a friend that I see in a hallway, but I would hold myself back. Or I'd want to share my ideas in a group discussion, but I would just end up staying quiet. I told myself, oh, it's because I'm introverted. Of course, I don't really talk to people, right? Introverts don't really like people, I would say to myself. Looking back, though, there was something much deeper going on, and it was that there was this limiting belief I had. And I noticed that I would want to participate, but I just would never do that. I never felt valuable enough and worthy enough to take some space. But once I started to push myself and connect with people, something interesting started happening. Initiating conversations actually felt fulfilling, and I started to feel actually more authentic. Sharing my ideas and group discussions actually felt so freeing to me. So I wasn't just introverted, I was using the label of being an introvert to kind of mask something much deeper. And I was trying to shrink myself essentially. And so if this video resonates, then this video is for you. I'll be talking about how making myself more social and opening myself to social opportunities actually helped me a lot, even though I used introvert as a defense mechanism. And I'll be talking about what introversion actually is and what it is not. And I'll be talking about the transformation I had. So firstly, very contrary to a lot of popular ideas, but introversion does not mean being antisocial. Introversion does not mean being unable to interact with others or being afraid of others. I notice even on the media, like I will watch a lot of like memes or just things that are funny. It's just like, oh, nobody introverts, and then it's more related to symptoms of social anxiety, and I think that image is not true at all. Because what an introvert actually is someone who prefers to keep their energy to themselves, right? We are all social creatures at the end of the day, right? A lot of psychologists look at human connection as one of the factors, right? We are all social creatures, and so we all need social interaction. However, some people naturally just need less of it than others. Okay, in order to physically feel well, they simply just need less of it than other people. And so that's what an introvert is, right? They can gain energy from being by themselves rather than a group of people. Extroverts generally gain energy through interaction with others. So that is what an introvert is. And being introvert does not mean you can't get deep, meaningful connections. Being an introvert does not mean that social interactions scare the heck out of you, you know? That is often a underlying, more deeper problem that is not related to being an introvert. So that is what being an introvert is and is not. Now I want to talk about what was actually going on whenever I would be in those social situations and I'd hold myself back even though I wanted to say something. So that was not a fact of introversion, right? It was more so because I thought that I wasn't worthy enough to be in there, because as a intellect and as someone who does think deeply, right? I have traditionally and generally always been given like weird looks whenever I'd express myself. So that is why I held myself back, because over time I learned, okay, my ideas don't matter, and so I don't matter. And so that's what a lot of that like shrinking came from, right? And it does not have to do with introversion, because clearly I did want to participate and be involved, but just I would hold myself back, and so that was not a matter of my introversion at all. Remember, I would have like very like little expression when I was in group settings, and even a friend of mine said, "You're very distant," you know, and then I was like a bit surprised. I'm like, "What do you mean?" you know? But they were right. Like from the outside, I was pretty distant, and that is because I felt like I didn't matter, and so naturally, I just stayed small, stayed quiet, even though I wanted to say a lot of things. In discussions, I would never share my thoughts, and it was holding me back from a lot of really good connections and insight. So I showed up in a small, limited, like shrinked version of myself, of what I can actually do. But everything changed when I took this instructor's course as part of my life-saving certifications. And it's basically where there's a lot of teaching, so we're learning how to teach basically, and the teacher would ask us questions, right? And my instructor at the end of the course said that he noticed that I was the more reserved type on even on the first day, but he said that even he could see that over time I would push myself, right? He said I would ask like questions, I would raise my hand, and he said he noticed that I would push myself, which was very true. And I think just since then, like from that day on, I have probably rewired my brain because this has caused me to initiate much more in class discussion, in initiating with other people. And it actually felt great to express myself, right? I always thought like I'm introvert, this is what who I am, this is it, right? But I did not realize how limiting that truly was. And so when I started to speak up more, right, I got positive feedback, right? Because I was starting to express myself and I have a lot of very highly intellectual based interests. And so I was starting to express myself more. And what that happened was you find people that resonate with what you're saying, okay? Content creation is an example of that. I've gotten many comments that's made me very happy for expressing my thoughts. I have, since then, I've just felt more authentic and I felt more confident being myself essentially because when I was the way I was before, right, staying small, shrinking, right, what does that reinforce to your brain? Well, it reinforces that you can't take up space, that your thoughts and opinions don't matter, right? And that this is just your identity, okay? But then when you start talking more and you start expressing yourself more, you start to get people in the right community to you. And what that shows your brain is that I can express myself and be authentic, right? Like I can actually do that and I have the space to be like that. I can be free essentially, right? Um, and so through that, I found a lot of really good like-minded people. I felt more authentic and just much more powerful when I simply started raising my hand when no one else did, when I started sharing my insights more, when I started going up to people I haven't before, right? It's like I built my whole identity on just being the quiet person in the room, but really I was holding myself back by so much. And there's so many teachers and so many people that want to hear your perspectives. And so holding that back is actually doing a disservice to society. You can think of it as. Another thing that happened was I wouldn't feel so self-conscious in groups, right? I would actually be able to express myself freely, and so I wouldn't feel so like self-conscious and small in groups. Like things became more enjoyable to me. And this because I was able to express myself without like being self-conscious, right? When I was staying quiet, even though I had things to say, I was being self-conscious, and that really impacted how I see myself actually. And there's this term in psychology called like seeing glass self theory, which is I am not what I think I am not what you think I am what I think you think I am. So basically, this concept in psychology, which is very well studied by Cooley, is basically saying that how you perceive yourself is a combination of how other people have perceived you and how you think they perceive you based on those experiences. And so that's why it is very important for us as social beings to put ourselves out there, to express ourselves, because as humans, we need that kind of engagement from other people in order to gain a good sense of self, right? Like I wasn't waiting for someone else to say hi to me. I was the one saying hi to other people. And that gives you a really good sense of confidence. In my philosophy class, for example, I was like, I had no other connections. Like, I think it's just me and one other person, but everyone else has their own group except for me and one other person. And that other person doesn't show up to class as regularly as me. But I'd feel just so much more isolated and not fully authentic in myself when I would isolate from other people, right? But instead, when I started to go up to the nearest group and ask questions, you'll be surprised. Like people are a lot more friendlier than you think. And I got to talk with them. I just initiated a few times. I'd even do things like give them textbooks, right, to them in their group. I'm like, hey guys, you need textbooks? Or like I'd ask them a question and be like, guys, you know what you're doing for this assignment, you know? And through that, I was able to build something. And just the other day, they initiated hi back to me, and they also asked about my interests, right? And this is where a lot of self-expression can happen. If you are saying that, oh, I'm not social because I'm just introverted, or I shouldn't talk to them because I'm introverted, I invite you to look deeper into that and realize that there's likely some kind of limiting belief there, because being introverted does not mean having social anxiety or just not being good with social interactions or holding yourself back like I did. And it actually can be very empowering once you learn how to initiate. And I think that this is a great skill that everyone should develop, no matter how introverted you think you are. But I think that everyone should develop the skill of initiating and the skill of connecting with other people, because it helps you truly see yourself better, right? Like, we are all social beings, and we see ourselves based on how other people see ourselves. And so make sure you are interacting with yourself and your environment, not just yourself. So yeah, I wanted to share that video, and I hope you enjoy the video and have a great rest of your day.